What if I told you that a summer crisis in 2019, which hospitalized over 2,800 individuals and led to 68 deaths, was caused not by a virus or bacteria, but by vaping? In the summer of 2019, America was blindsided by an unprecedented health crisis. The unexpected villain was not a disease, but a chemical component in certain vaping products. This lethal substance was damaging lungs, leading to over 2,800 hospitalizations and 68 deaths. Health authorities nationwide were left baffled, trying to grasp the scale and implications of the crisis. The supposed safe alternative to smoking, vaping, was now under intense scrutiny. This crisis propelled a wave of academic interest and research funding to unravel the true health implications of vaping. The chemical component causing this crisis was wreaking havoc in the body, damaging lungs and leading to respiratory distress. This severe damage led hospitalizations and, in worst cases, death. This crisis was a wake-up call about the potential dangers of vaping, igniting a surge in research. This crisis was the catalyst for a surge in research aimed at uncovering the true health implications of vaping. Fast forward 5 years, and the evidence is clear: vaping is not as safe as once thought. An outbreak in the summer of 2019 left a lasting impression on America, with over 2,800 individuals hospitalized and 68 lives lost. The suspect? An elusive chemical component present in certain vaping products causing severe damage to lung tissue and respiratory distress. This crisis sparked a wave of research aiming to demystify the health implications of vaping. Large-scale studies have provided unequivocal evidence linking e-cigarettes to increased risks of respiratory diseases, heart attacks, and strokes. A recent study, presented at the annual scientific meeting of the American College of Cardiology, unveiled a worrying trend. The researchers discovered that individuals aged 18 and above who have ever used e-cigarettes face a 19% higher likelihood of experiencing heart failure compared to non-users. Heart failure is not an instantaneous event like a heart attack. It unfolds over time, gradually weakening the heart's ability to pump blood throughout the body. More and more studies are linking e-cigarettes to harmful effects and finding that it might not be as safe as previously thought, remarked Yakubu Beni Al-Hassan, a physician and researcher from MedStar Health in Baltimore. The difference we saw was substantial. This landmark study, the largest of its kind examining the connection between e-cigarettes and heart failure, awaits peer review for validation. Beni Al-Hassan and his team evaluated the health records of 175,667 adults. Among them, approximately 28,660 individuals reported using e-cigarettes. Over a median follow-up period of nearly 4 years, there were 3,242 cases of heart failure. The study excluded participants with a history of heart failure at the beginning of the study and made adjustments for various risk factors such as age, gender, and comorbidities like diabetes, hypertension, hypercholesterolemia, and smoking. The risks are real and they're substantial, but the story doesn't end there. A recent study presented a new concerning trend, a link between e-cigarettes and heart failure. This research, unveiled at the annual scientific meeting of the American College of Cardiology, found that adults who have ever used e-cigarettes face a 19% higher likelihood of experiencing heart failure compared to non-users. Heart failure is not an abrupt event like a heart attack. It's a gradual process, slowly diminishing the heart's capacity to pump blood effectively throughout the body. Yakubu Beni Al-Hassan, a physician and researcher from MedStar Health in Baltimore, remarked on the growing number of studies linking e-cigarettes to harmful effects, noting the substantial difference seen in this study. This research, the largest of its kind probing the connection between e-cigarettes and heart failure, is currently awaiting peer review for validation. The team analyzed health records of nearly 176,000 adults. Among them, roughly 28,600 reported using e-cigarettes. Over a median follow-up period of nearly 4 years, 3,242 cases of heart failure were documented. Participants who already had heart failure at the start of the study were excluded, and adjustments were made for various risk factors such as age, gender, and comorbidities like diabetes, hypertension, hypercholesterolemia, and smoking. The findings were stark. Former and current e-cigarette users faced a concerning 19% heightened risk of heart failure, especially the variant characterized by myocardial stiffening and impaired blood filling. Notably, the study did not inquire about vaping frequency or the composition of e-cigarette formulations, including the presence of nicotine or flavorings. This study, the largest of its kind, has shed a new light on the dangerous relationship between e-cigarettes and heart health. It's a sobering reminder that while e-cigarettes may be marketed as a safer alternative to traditional smoking, the reality could be far more complex and potentially harmful. Who exactly are the individuals most at risk? The answer might surprise you. The study we're discussing today offers some illuminating insights. It involved a large cohort of over 175,000 adults. This group wasn't composed of young, invincible thrill seekers as you might expect. The average participant was 52 years old. More than half were women, and the majority were Caucasian. These details are significant because they challenge the stereotype of the typical vapor as a young male individual. This study included a demographic more likely to already be at risk for conditions like heart disease, which may have intensified the observed effects of vaping. The researchers didn't stop at demographic data, though. They also considered various risk factors that could influence their results. For example, they factored in age and gender, two variables known to impact heart disease risk. They also adjusted for comorbidities. That's a fancy way of saying they took into account other health conditions that participants might have had, things like diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and even traditional cigarette smoking. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room: heart failure. The study found that both former and current e-cigarette users had a 19% higher likelihood of experiencing heart failure compared to non-users. This isn't the sudden dramatic heart attack scenario you might be picturing. Heart failure is a slow process. It's the gradual weakening of the heart's ability to pump blood effectively throughout the body. And here's the kicker: those who smoke traditional cigarettes in addition to vaping, their risk of heart failure shot up by a staggering 59%. These findings emphasize that the risk of heart failure from vaping isn't confined to any particular demographic or age group. Whether you're young or old, male or female, vaping could significantly increase your risk of heart disease and heart failure. It's a sobering reminder of the potential dangers lurking in that harmless-looking e-cigarette. For those who think mixing cigarette smoking with e-cigarette usage is safe, think again. The research paints an alarming picture for individuals who engage in both practices. The increased susceptibility to heart failure among these dual users is not just elevated, it's staggeringly high. A shocking 59% higher than non-users, to be precise. This is not a mere risk increase, it's a leap into a danger zone. Nicotine, the addictive chemical found in both traditional cigarettes and many e-cigarettes, is a key player in this unsettling scenario. Its notorious reputation for fostering addiction is well documented, but it doesn't stop there. Nicotine also poses a grave threat to heart health, contributing to heart disease, stroke, and now, as studies suggest, heart failure. A common misconception is that e-cigarettes are a safe alternative to conventional cigarettes, or even a stepping stone to quitting smoking altogether. However, findings have indicated that young vapers are 3 times more likely to transition to traditional cigarette smoking. This undermines the idea of e-cigarettes as harmless or as effective smoking cessation aids. But what about those e-cigarettes that claim to be nicotine-free? Well, it's time to burst that bubble. Despite what their labels might suggest, a growing body of evidence indicates that many of these supposedly nicotine-free vaping formulations are not free from nicotine at all. They covertly harbor the very substance they claim to eschew, pulling users into the nicotine addiction cycle under the guise of a safer alternative. This misleading information and the ignorance around it not only increases the risk of addiction but also poses a significant threat to heart health. It is essential to dispel these myths and misconceptions about vaping and e-cigarettes. The dangers of vaping, especially when combined with regular smoking, are clear. It's time we understood and acknowledged these risks. The health implications are too significant to ignore, and the stakes, quite literally, are a matter of heart.